So, I'm a dude, right?
Right.
I'm a cis dude.
Yeah.
And I'm also a feminist.
No!
Hello everyone, this is Champion Man 90. Ugh! Damn it, I can't see a thing in this.
But wait, doesn't that mean you hate men?
Yeah, it does in a lot of cases, doesn't it? Not every case, but a lot of cases. In fact, probably the vast majority of cases. What say you?
I don't know what that voice was.
I do.
Gay!
No, as a matter of fact, it doesn't mean that I hate men. I am a man, so that would be kind of silly.
A lot of the most anti-male pieces of propaganda ever spewed forth from the feminist movement comes from male feminists, such as David Futrell from We Hunted the Mammoth, for example. In fact, last year we had loads of examples, not just from him, but from others. So I wouldn't put it past a lot of guys who are male and who are feminists to hate themselves because they are men.
The definition of feminism that I work with, and most people who identify themselves as feminists work with...
So not everyone works with the dictionary definition then, because it's exactly what you're going to spout here, aren't you? Interesting.
...is the fight for the equality of the sexes.
If that were truly the case, then how come feminists are constantly fighting MRAs and trying to silence them for speaking about men's issues and the things that men face that are unequal? Or are you that type of feminist who will then go and say, oh, but men can't be oppressed, men can't have any problems because they're the oppressors? Are you going to be one of those feminists?
Yes, there is a very loud, very angry minority of people who claim the term, whose real goal is to just dethrone men and put women in the place, but that's the exact same problem.
Yeah, but you were about to say that they're not true feminists, are you? Well, they are true feminists, and the problem is, they're not a minority anymore. No, they're in fact the majority. They are the majority. Most feminists believe in the hypothesis that is patriarchy, and that is that there is a massive worldwide order made by men for men to oppress women. Therefore, to smash the patriarchy, you have to get rid of men's power, to dethrone them, to use your words, and give it to women. Or, if you're that feminist who doesn't quite believe in stealing all the power from men and then giving it all to women, 50-50. That is still taking power from men, whether you like it or not.
There's always a huge discussion over the definition of feminism, and I just think that's rather silly.
It is silly, especially when you lot are fighting out amongst yourselves about what does feminism mean. You constantly have to have that topic in your panels and your discussions. Like, what is feminism? What does it mean in today's society? What is it? What does it mean to you? What does it mean for men, women, trans people, intersex people? What does it mean? What does it mean? And then you've got us egalitarians and MRAs and people who aren't even either of those things saying, it's a hate movement, that's what it means. Because as you can see, actions speak louder than words. And if feminism truly was about equality, we wouldn't be seeing so many laws that limit men's rights and hell, even women's rights and their attack on freedom of speech, amongst other things.
Right, I think there are a lot more bigger, important issues at hand here. I don't really care about what you label yourself as or what you don't label yourself as.
Thank you. Well done, and let us move on.
So why do I, a dude, need feminism, right? I stand to benefit a lot from the current power structures of the genders, right? A lot.
No, you won't actually. You'll be punished far harsher for any crime compared to a woman. You will get a much higher prison sentence than her. You will be at the losing end almost all the time when it comes to the marriage courts and the familial courts, where the children will most likely, 90% of the time, go with the woman, no matter how bad she is as a person and as a mother. And during the divorce, the messy divorce, she will take most of your money, and you have to then pay her and the kids loads of money until they're 18, and if you don't, you'll go to jail. I could say more, but I'd like to save them for later.
So completely disregarding the small fact that women are also people.
What does that mean? Why did you have to put that in there? That was a complete non sequitur. Are you trying to say that you're not a misogynist? Because that was just virtue signaling right there, and it was completely unnecessary.
And just general being a solid, decent human being.
If only most feminists could be a solid, decent human being like you.
These are my selfish reasons for needing feminism.
Oh goody, I am so fascinated.
I need feminism because in a world governed by the current gender roles applied to men and women, I would not be very successful at that.
What are you talking about? Define these gender roles.
If all of a sudden I found myself time-traveled back into the 1950s, being married with 2 kids, having to provide for the family, having to make all the decisions completely for everyone in the house, oh god, I would not do well at that at all.
If only family life worked like that in the 1950s, maybe then I'd be inclined to say, yeah, you would be shit at that, having to make every single decision and pay for literally everything. But in the 50s, it didn't work quite like that. Yes, the man went to work and the woman mostly stayed at home because that was the way that life worked back then. A lot of women were beginning to work as the marriage bar had ended by that point, at least in the UK. I don't know about that in the US. So women could, in theory, be working with kids or work without kids. Doesn't matter, okay? That's besides the point. The man would not be making all the decisions because the home was the woman's place, okay? I'm not saying that's her place, that's your place. No, whatever she said goes, okay? All the man had to do was provide because the home, traditionally, at least in the north of England, is a very matriarchal place. So straight away, men didn't have complete control over everything. I'm sure there were men who did have complete and utter control, but they were actually few and far between. It was very much a team role kind of thing, in a way. I'm not trying to make it out like it was some amazing thing. It wasn't, because there was bad side effects to this. Women became psychologically lonely and depressed, and men worked themselves to an early grave, and hell, maybe they got some psychological problems from that too. But that's how it worked. And to be honest, I probably wouldn't work as well in that kind of situation either, because, well, firstly, I've never had to bring up kids and make every single decision for myself, so yeah. But your problem here is that that's not the current gender roles anymore, is it? So again, define the gender roles in which we currently live in, because now, if you're living in a 2-parent household, both parents might be working, and they might only have 1 or 2 kids. So, yeah, decision making isn't going to be that way, is it?
I'm shy, I'm passive, I'm definitely not good at making decisions for other people. That would be bad news bears, the family would fall the freak apart.
None of these things are the markers of what makes a great dad, or what makes a great family patriarch. I'm sure loads of dads are shy and quiet and passive, yet they still manage to keep a successful family and raise their kids to go on to bigger and better things.
I work best in a relationship when the person that I'm with is my companion, when we're a team.
Which is what it was back then. In fact, what most relationships probably always have been. But again, the 50s are not a bearing on the 2010s now, are they? We don't live like that anymore, so please, define the current gender roles as they apparently currently are. Come on.
Making decisions together, as like a, yeah, go us sort of movement.
I don't understand how you need feminism on creating your own unique little relationship. Surely you need your personalities and you need another person for that. Not feminism. An ideology will not give you that kind of life, okay? The only way you get that life is if you go out and find the perfect person for you, and then live the rest of your lives with them, and have a family or something. I don't know. You don't need an ideology for that.
Kind of related to that, I need feminism because I'm not very good at being a traditional man.
Again, define a traditional man, because that's different in every place you will ever go. It's different on an individual level, it's different on a cultural level. Please, at least define why you want feminism to sort these things out and what these things actually are. Because it's not making any sense right now. You're just being stupid.
I went to an all-guys high school. Yeah, and I spent most of my time in high school trying to be a better dude.
Rather than learning...
I say try because I failed often, and sometimes I would slip and do something traditionally feminine, like sit with my legs crossed, or say something with a higher intonation in my voice, and did not end well from social status.
What are you talking about? So rather than get an education and actually try hard in school, you tried hard to be a man, so trying to speak deep, trying to not cross your legs, which by the way, men cross their legs. That is not considered a feminine thing. My dad crosses his legs, I cross my legs. A lot of men cross their legs. That's not a feminine thing. It's just a thing to make you feel comfortable. You either went to a school that were incredibly stupid, or you misinterpreted what people were doing, or you think that's a feminine thing. It's not. It's just the way that people sit. And I crossed my legs in school and nobody did that. Nobody judged me on that. Mind you, I crossed my legs in the masculine way, maybe. I don't know if that's even a thing. But so what? Maybe the kids were just trying to get on your nerves. They were just being what bullies are being. Idiots who will take anything about you and use it to get a rise out of you. And that's what happened. You don't need feminism for that shit. And that doesn't mean you're not manning as well as the rest of us. You're just your own type of person, alright? Don't take what high school bullies do seriously later in life, okay?
If the goals of feminism succeed and everyone's allowed to exist as they are without any pressures from outside sources, yeah, that's great, but that's good for me.
We have done and already are existing in that current paradigm, mate. You can be whatever you want to be. Nobody is telling you to be something that you aren't, okay? Nobody. Unless they're idiots, unless they're mean, horrible bullies, okay? Stop taking what happened in your childhood and then projecting it onto society, okay? Society does not think like that. Normal, regular adults do not believe that shit. Not even kids believe that shit. They're just bullies trying to take the piss out of you. And they have succeeded in taking the piss out of you and scarring you for life. Well done. You know, at least when those of us who were bullied at high school and were scarred for life knew that society aren't like that and that we can get over our problems. But you seem not to have. You've adopted feminism to deal with your insecurities, and it's created this stupid version of reality in your head.
Right, I can just straight up do heel clicks in the hallways without being accused of being gay every 5 seconds, and that's pretty rad.
What? Oh, God. You're just... Oh. Next.
I also don't have to worry about participating in the eternal pissing contest that is masculinity, because ironically, one of the most fragile things in human existence is traditional masculinity.
Masculinity is not a pissing contest. It is nothing like that. Only idiots like you and overly macho people turn it into a contest. Also, what do you mean by fragile? Masculinity isn't fragile, neither is femininity. It's just masculinity and femininity. What's fragile is your own personality, not your masculinity, okay?
You have all these dudes doing dude stuff together, all of a sudden one of them exhibits one iota, one shred of femininity, and all of a sudden he's a girl, or he's gay, or he's a pussy, or something like that. That's how it works. That's how stuff works.
You clearly don't hang around with enough men to realise that doesn't happen. If that really truly was the case with all men, or most men, we'd be doomed as a species, because that is just stupid behaviour by stupid people. Only stupid people believe in that bullshit, and most men don't believe in that shit. That is not how masculinity works, or how being a man works, okay? It's something deeper and more mature than that I can't really get into, because it's so complicated to explain to idiots like you.
At the end of the day, despite the name feminism, it's all the same fight. Women's rights and men's rights are the same thing.
Oh sure, they're completely the same, right. On the one hand, you've got a gender that has more rights than one, women, while you have a gender that doesn't have all the rights, men. Yet they're completely the same thing, because feminism is totally not trying to strip rights away from men and try and find more rights for women, so that they're imbalancing the genders, while men's rights activists and egalitarians are trying to, you know, keep the genders equal, try and get rights for men that men don't have, like reproductive rights, for example, and the right to bodily autonomy, and to end male circumcision. But no, apparently they're both the same. Okay, whatever.
Same fight, same battle. The reason that I and most people who call themselves feminists are okay with the term feminism being used, despite its implied message that women should be above men,
It's not implied, it's called feminism.
is because women have been the systematically oppressed gender between men and women.
No, they were not oppressed. Actually, they were more protected. Now, what do I mean by protected? Well, that means that as an evolutionary thing that humans had to do, men were considered far more disposable than women. Therefore, men went out into the wilderness to hunt, and at the same time trying to create ingenious ways to keep the tribe, and therefore the human race, alive to where we are today, while women had to be protected and put in the home to look after the kids after childbirth, because childbirth is a very taxing thing on the body, and there's not much a woman can do when she's pregnant. She can't go out and hunt along with the man when she's got a heavy thing inside of her, okay? And then afterwards, she can't do much because she's recovering, isn't she? And now she's got her kids to look after. But that's besides the point. That was the main reason why those two things happen. Now, did oppression come out of that? Yeah, but it depends on the society in which you lived in. If you lived in, say, ancient Athens, women totally were oppressed. Women could only go out of the house accompanied by another male member of the household or a slave. I can't quite remember if slaves were allowed to go with them, but I assume they were allowed. While if you went to Samaria, which was years before that, a lot of states had equal rights for men and women. And in Sparta, to keep it kind of contemporary with Athens, women could own property, they could divorce, they could have multiple sexual partners. The idea being that the more sexually active they were, the better the children, but whatever. So there you go. Women were not necessarily oppressed wherever they went. And as we go further in time, things get even more nuanced. So a black and white version of history is not going to cut it, mate.
And that's not even taking into account trans people and anyone else who falls off the gender binary.
You would be right, but the binary exists. Trans people go from one to the other.
You can call yourself a feminist, you can not call yourself a feminist, but at the end of the day, it's an important thing that we need to talk about. Because despite those silly reasons why I need feminism because everyone needs feminism.
I'm sure those homeless men and those men who cannot see their kids because of a terrible, horrible person that is called their ex-wife is using the law to stop them from seeing their kids need feminism. I'm sure that those boys who are currently being drugged up in American high schools because nobody knows how to deal with the fact that they are boys growing up into men need feminism. But hey, whatever.
Because when I drive home from work and I hear songs like Blurred Lines and Talk Dirty to Me, which make women out to be an object of a man's pleasure, we gotta talk about it.
Really? So songs about women sung by men are the reason why we need feminism? Really? Really? And not because of an entire religion called Islam, which is currently oppressing women in their own countries, and men too. No, instead, pop songs. Pop songs that aren't even about objectifying women. Songs that are actually about relationship things and the complications around those things. Or maybe they just want to be talked dirty to. Yeah, feminism is needed because we can't allow people to sing about what they want to sing about, obviously. Yeah, censorship.
When one of those songs gets voted to be the #1 hit of 2013, we gotta talk about it.
They don't vote it, they buy it. That's how it reaches #1. That means that a lot of men and women, mostly women, because men don't tend to be into the sort of stuff that Robin Thicke writes, but whatever, bought this song because they liked it. Yeah, apparently there's a problem, okay?
I talk to female friends of mine all the time about how they're constantly harassed and valued for only their appearance over the internet and in person while walking down the street. We gotta talk about it.
Men are harassed more online than women, and men also get catcalled by women, and some women even like catcalling, and some men even like being catcalled by women, or other men, if they're of that persuasion. So what are you gonna do about it? What's feminism gonna do about it? Feminism has done fuck all about those things.
And in this beautiful and imperfect world in which we live in, we have a lot of things we gotta talk about. There are a lot of people out there who say things like, we don't need feminism anymore because there are laws in place that make women equal to men. And yeah, that's true. We have come an incredibly long way, but we still have a real long way to go. And
well, despite getting everything you could possibly want, all the laws in place, all these attitudes that have changed over the last 50 and 40 years, still, we've got a long way to go, because you're never pleased. You have to just keep oppressing us even more, okay?
Bottom line, just because it's a law, it doesn't mean it changes how people think. That change happens on an individual level, not on a systematic one.
And most people are not sexist or hate women. Attitudes have changed since those laws were put in place almost 40 to 50 years ago. That's a long time to change attitudes.
It starts on the individual level, then it branches out, and eventually systematic and important cultural change happens. And that's what we gotta fight for.
You've got it. You've already made men the most universally hated demographic in the world. You've already got equal rights for women. You already have changed the social attitudes so that most people in the world, because the rest you're not going to change. The rest you're not going to change no matter how hard you try. Don't hate women. They don't dislike women. They think women can do whatever they want. Whatever. What left is there? What have you got?
Because it isn't just women's fight, it's everyone's fight, and everyone stands to benefit from a world in which everyone can exist as themselves, and for everyone else involved.
We already do, but the problem is the current version of feminism that is residing on the throne of feminism, metaphorically speaking of course, is anti-choice, it's anti-individual, it's collectivist, and it's going to destroy that notion, and it's already trying to. We are not going to be able to be like that, because men now can't be men. We can't sit with our legs apart. We have to sit with them closely together, because if we don't, that's manspreading and that's oppressing women for whatever reason. It's just taking up too much space. We can't even talk to women anymore without being accused of mansplaining. Even if we might know more than them, but hey, whatever. We've got to listen and believe and shut up, right? And we can no longer date a woman or have sex with a woman without fear that we may be accused of rape, because feminists have drummed it into people's heads that that is going to happen to them, and all men are potential rapists. So that is the kind of world that you are apparently fighting for. You being feminism, that is. You individually, you might not agree with that, but the fact remains is, you being that useful idiot is only allowing these people to reach this social paradigm that they are trying to get to.
That's pretty much all I gotta say about that. Made a video about the F word. Feminism.
And that's all I got to say. See you later, useful idiot.